Hey, this is Mr. Ward, and this is the Algebra Exit Ticket 29.3. And that should say A block. It will. Don't worry about that. And now we're going to consider this quadratic trinomial. Trinomial just means three terms instead of a binomial, which has two. Now, if you multiply 5 from the 5n squared by the 12 at the end, you're going to get 60. So we want to find out what factors of 60 would add up to 19. So let's find out using our trusty x. So we had 5 times 12, and that got us 60. Okay, so we want the factors of 60 that add up to 19. Okay, so if you're thinking about maybe, let's see, we've got about 15 and 4. That would work. 15 times 4 is 60, and 15 plus 4 is 19. So here we go. I get a 15 and a 4. If you said 4 and 15, that works. So we're going to split this up, split this 19n in the middle into a 4n and a 15n. And let's see if we can group them here. Group this whole thing. This 4n and this 15n, that's the 19n. I've just rearranged it into parentheses because you can do that with addition. And now I'm going to find the largest or greatest common factor here. Well, there's no common factor other than 1 from the 5 and the 4. So it's just a 1. But I can pull an n out of each of these, and I'll have an n, and that'll be left with 5n plus 4. Now, I'm going to see what I can pull out here. Well, 15 and 12 both share a factor of 3. So I'll pull out a 3, and I'll be left with 5n plus 4. And then I can use, the distributive property here, because 5n plus 4 and 5n plus 4, those are the same factors, for these two things in the sum. So we can rewrite that now as 5n plus 4. Then we'll multiply that times n plus 3. And you're done. And we can, of course, demonstrate that that does come back to 5n squared plus 19n plus 12 by multiplying it out. 5n times n squared will be So 5n times n will be 5n squared. Okay. And then 5n times 3 will be plus 15n. And then 4 times n will be another 4 n's. And then finally, 4 times 3 will be plus 12. And we can take these two and put them together, and they become a 19n. So we've got 5n squared plus 19n plus 12, which is in fact what we had to begin with up here. Okay, now let's go on to number 2. And in number 2, we're going to be considering, I wonder why that's hanging out there. Get rid of it. All right, for number 2, we have been given 2n squared plus 3n minus 9. And what we want to find are, what we want to find are these. So if you multiply the 2 and the negative 9, you're going to get, 2 times negative 9, you end up with a negative 18. So we're going to be trying to find the two factors of negative 18 that add up to 3. Okay, so negative 18 is going to be a plus and a minus. Okay, our sum is positive, so the plus needs to be further from 0 than the negative, and that's going to be a 6 and a negative 3. So those are the two factors that will work. So 6 and negative 3. Now let's see how we can play with that. So we've got this here. We've got 2n squared. I've taken the 6n, I've taken the 3n and I've split it up into 6n and minus 3n. Okay, and that's all minus 9. And now I've broken this up. I've grouped this into two binomials. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find the greatest common factor here and pull it out, and also the greatest common factor here. So here I know I can pull a 2 out, but I can also pull an n out. And I'll be left in here with n plus e. Okay, and let's add this. And now I'm going to be pulling out the greatest common factor here. Well, I could pull out a negative 3 here. So negative 3. And then I'll be left with n plus 3. And since I have the same factor here and here, I can use the distributive property. I'll say n plus 3. And then I'll say 2n minus 3. 2n minus 3. And those are the factors of our original equation here, 2n squared plus 3n minus 9. Let's prove it. Be sure about this sort of thing. Let's multiply it out. N times 2n squared will be 2n squared. Good so far. And then n times negative 3 will be negative 3n. And then 3 times 2n will be positive 6n. And finally, 3 times negative 3 will be negative 9. And we can put these things together, and we'll end up with 3n in the middle. And that's a minus 9 over here, and it's a 2n squared here. And that was, in fact, our original equation. If we scroll up, you can see that. There it is. 2n squared plus 3n minus 9. 2n squared plus 3n minus 9.